So we're back to questions about language and how precise is language. And remember, we learned the words of the Rambam yesterday, that language is interpreted in at least in Nedarim in terms of common usage. In other words, the meaning of a word is how people used to use it at the time. And we're going to go through lots of different kinds of food, and we're just going to see what the distinctions are. So we're going to begin in the fourth Mishnah of the 6th chapter. There are 2 chapters about these word games, so we're not quite halfway through. And the Mishnah begins, Dag dagim, shani toem. If I taste fish or fishes, or fish of fishes. There's this unusual use of fish and fishes, and the Mishnah rules asur bahem. He's absolutely forbidden from them. And then there's a list. Ben gedolim, ben ketanim, ben menuchim, ben tefelim, ben chayim, ben muvushalim. He's completely forbidden for them, whether big or small or salted or unseasoned or raw or cooked. He can't eat any fish. If he utters this vow, he cannot eat any fish. And the Rambam makes a comment here, which I wanted to bring you because it's very rarely that we get a literary comment from the Rambam, and it's just so it's very rare. So I thought it's worth drawing to our attention. Da kibul shonenu. Know that in our language, when someone combines the singular and the plural, this points to hareze more. It points to totality and amplification, like Hevel Havalim or Shira Shirim, like vanity of vanities or song of songs. So if he said fish of fishes, and this is what he said basically, I forswear fish and fishes. If he forswore fish and fishes or fish of fishes, he included all kinds of fish, whatever kind exists. And that's why the Mishnah specifies large, small, salted, unseasoned, raw, cooked, etc. But he can still eat stuff which is not exactly fish. So umutar bi treat trufa uvatzir. Now he can eat hashed treat. Treat is a sort of chopped up fish. Maybe it's like minced fish. I think the closest I can think of it in our world is minced fish. So you can actually go to the fishmonger and buy minced fish. And they used to buy chopped up fish like this, chopped up in little bits. And the brine, well, they used to salt fish a lot because they didn't have refrigerators. So people would kind of sip or dip their bread into the salty, fishy water that the fish was stored in. And that is not fish. So hashed treat, minced fish is not fish. Brine is not fish. So fishes of fishes covers all kinds of fish, but it has to have fish shape, basically. What about tzachana? Hanoder min hatzachana. This seems to be another kind of minced fish. We're not quite sure what it is, but the point is it's close enough to treat to make one forbidden if he forswears the other. Hanoder min hatzachana, surbi treat trufa. Someone who forswears tzachana is forbidden hashed treat, but they can still eat umutar, batzir, uvamurias. He can eat brine, and murias is some kind of pickled fish brine. We've seen it in the Mishnah, I think, of Shavuot, or certainly we've seen it in the Mishnah of Zeraim somewhere. It's some kind of pickled, I think you probably pickle the fish, and then this is the water left over after you pickle the fish. Hanoder, me treat trufa. So what if you forswear the hashed treat? Okay, and interestingly, here we have a different opinion in the manuscripts of the Mishnah, and the Kaufman, we're following Kaufman, says mutar but sir uvamurias. The Kaufman says if you forswear hashed treat, you can still eat brine and pickled fish brine. And most printed editions actually say may not. They say asur, not mutar. So who can tell? Who can tell? Let's keep moving. Someone who forswears milk is permitted to eat whey. Whey is the sort of watery stuff that you get after you finish making cheese. So the cheese congeals and the watery stuff is left over. That's the whey. And most people would say, look, this is different stuff. So if you forswear milk, you're permitted whey, but Rabbi Yossi doesn't agree. Rabbi Yossi Oser, there's a suggestion in Kahati that Rabbi Yossi comes from a part of the country where usage is different. So remember, we've said everything in the Nedarim goes according to local usage. So if Rabbi Yossi comes from maybe somewhere up north where whey is referred to as milk, then obviously when you forswear milk, you can't eat whey either. Now, of course, it doesn't, in reverse, it's not the same. Umin hakim mutar bechalab. If he forswears whey, clearly he's permitted milk, because milk is milk is not a type. Whey might be a type of milk, but milk is absolutely not a type of whey. The two cases are, one is a superset of the other. And Abba Shaul is going to come in now. Abba Shaul omer, hanoder mina gvina. What if you forswear cheese? Asurba. Bein melicha uvein tefela. What if you swear you're not going to eat cheese, then you can't eat any kind of cheese, whether it's salted. We have salted cheese now. Quite a lot of cheese has salt in it. Halloumi type cheese has salt in it. Or tefela. Tefela means unseasoned. It's a word in Job. Can you eat something which is unseasoned without salt? That's the cry that Job brings. And the Mishnah perhaps here is emphasizing the expression ha-gvina, someone who forswears the cheese. Maybe I should have put the in the translation. Ha-gvina, the cheese. This kind of somehow, like fish of fishes, seems to imply the whole generality. What about stuff cooked with meat? Let's move from milk to meat. Very interesting. This trio of Mishnah has moved from fish to milk to meat. We had three key foods now. Hanoder mina basar. So someone who forswears meat, and there's the ha in front of it again. It's someone who forswears the meat. But we're going to now really home in here. Mutar barotehu vakofeh. He can eat the sauce or the juice. And the kofeh is the jelly. The kofeh seems to be the bit that sticks round the side of the pot. So in other words, he can eat stuff that's around the meat. It's not the real meat. Rabbi Yudah prohibits. And he's going to bring an example. Amar Rabbi Yudah Maaseh Asar Lai Rabbi Tarfon Beitzim Shenit Bashlu Imo. It once happened that Rabbi Tarfon prohibited me from eating eggs which were cooked with it. What is this cooked with? It seems to be cooked with the meat. And I don't know whether you do this in the US, but we're in Singapore, where I'm teaching from, there are boiled eggs served every Shabbat lunch, and they're colored red as if they've been cooked in the meat. I think nowadays they're probably no longer cooked in the meat, but once they were certainly cooked in the meat. Now, the community in Singapore has the tradition from Baghdad. So that's from Bavel. So we're right in the Mishnah tradition, if not from Eretz Yisrael, at least from Bavel. So we're seeing these eggs cooked in the chulun from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel to Singapore in the year 2024. And Rabbi Tarfon prohibited Rabbi Yudah from eating these eggs. Amrulo v'chein hadavar. And everyone else listening in the Beit Midrash said, yep, that's so. Rabbi Tarfon is right. If it's cooked in the meat, then you forswear it. If you forswear meat, you can't eat the stuff cooked in the meat. But there's always a but. Eimatai. Now here we're going to come back to the grammar. When does this apply? Bizman shamar basar ze alai. When he says, this meat is prohibited to me. So, if aval hanoder minadavar, if he forswears himself from something, venit arev ba'acher, and it's then mixed up with something else, im yesh bo monoten tam harei ze oser. If enough of it is mixed up so that it passes the taste on, at that point it becomes forbidden. So that seems to be the general rule. If something is cooked in the pot, in order with the meat, it needs to take taste from the meat in order to be prohibited by this vow.